when I think about how you guys handled the spotlight, how you handled like a microphone, I don't consider you guys following the same playbook.
No,
No, we're very
we're
different.
very different people.
Very different.
Yeah.
So how much of that was a thing you ever needed to discuss, or because I would like you guys to describe yourselves and your approaches actually.
Okay.
'Cause Megan, pretty famously, I would say, pretty much gave negative fucks actually. Like just didn't.
Mostly. Well, yeah. Just I didn't give the to the sort of obvious people who you're supposed to give to, I guess. I don't know.
Championship or bust.
Completely, yeah. Championship or bust.
so-
Always.
Jane, excited about going to the White House?
I'm not going to the White House. No, I'm not going to the White House.
Okay.
We're not going to be invited.
You're not going to be invited?
I doubt it.
Fuck distribution was something that you handled differently from Sue, is the bottom line.
Yeah, no, we have a way different style.
I give all the fucks.
But okay, but you guys have given your respective press conferences, and there is a different amount of fallout depending on what the thing was discussed that day.
Mm-hmm.
And then you guys meet up at home. And it's like, so, how did your day go? And it's like, well, I'm an enemy of the state now.
yeah.
The example I was going to give was after, Trump tweeted at Meghan, and it's at the World Cup and all the things. It was like a couple days later. And, like we were starting to hear things about what and who was contacting her family, who was in Northern California. My sister, so amazing, infamously got a text, like anonymous text that was like, tell your sister's boyfriend, Macaulay Culkin, to shut his damn mouth. It's like top 5.
It's top.
It's so
It
good.
might be top.
It's so good.
It might be top.
But when I started
Funny.
hearing all these things,
Funny.
like I said, what her family's getting, now my sister's getting a text, I call her up. She's in France, and I'm like, hey, how are you feeling around like safety and all these things? Like thinking kind of like not globally, but zoomed out.
Yeah.
And she's like, I feel safe.
I think over time, I've tried to be more thoughtful about it because it has impacted people. It has impacted my family. And, I'm from a small conservative town that's like pretty tight knit. My mom worked at a restaurant, so it was constantly people coming in and out. And my, just my family like lives in a place that didn't really agree generally with what I was saying, didn't agree with kneeling. Like, why are you not kneeling? And I don't mean kneeling in terms of kneeling. Like, what are you doing? What is everyone doing to help? Because everyone knows that we have a problem in this country. Everyone knows that we have serious issues to talk around racial injustice. Didn't agree with my comments about not going to the White House or about that administration at the time.
What is your message to the president?
I think that I would say that your message is excluding people. You're excluding me. You're excluding people that look like me. You're excluding people of color. You're excluding, Americans that maybe support you.
I'm also rich and an athlete and privileged and sheltered and privileged in that sort of way. And so I just didn't really ever feel like I was actually in danger. And I talk about this all the time, and you've seen this in real life, and you weren't there for the one time that this happened. One time in real life, someone has come up to me. This man said, I wish you would have represented our country differently. And I was like, oh, okay. Sorry you feel that way or disagree. That's literally the only time. And so, a couple times I've been booed in the stands, but that I don't feel like counts. Even with social media, I feel like maybe because I came to it a little bit later, but I think also my experience with kneeling, immediately showed me that it was all fake. They just,
What do you mean?
Fake meaning the conversation that was being had in a negative way was so disingenuous because it wasn't about what Colin was saying at all. We're talking about the military now. We're not talking about national security. We're talking about the right to protest and the First Amendment and police brutality and all of these things. So I just immediately I was like, okay, you're just trying to have a different conversation and one that slings mud at Colin and tries to discredit what he's saying. And I think from my perspective, I was like, well, I believe Colin and I believe Black people generally. Otherwise, you have to accuse like the entirety of like their experience.
Of lying
you have to
about-
accuse them of lying, which is insane because we've all seen all of the things. So I think just then I was like, oh, this is just disingenuous in general, particularly on social media. And I'm not getting that real life feedback that anybody actually feels this strongly about it to ever come in. I'm out in these streets or at games or in Texas or Florida or, places that are traditionally more conservative. Nothing, not one word. So I was just like, man, this is like whatever. So I'm just going to keep saying what I'm saying. And it seems like I like know when I'm on track when, that part of the internet starts like saying crazy things. I'm like, oh, thank you for the reinforcement and like acknowledgement that I'm at the heart of it.
What's Sue Bird like playing a board game?
We don't play games.
I know Megan doesn't play games.
Honestly,
it's honestly
it's so annoying.
I might leave you because of it.
I know. I'm not a gamer.
She won't play games with me, Pablo.
But I didn't grow up playing a lot. I mean, I've played some board games, but I mean, I think you are competitive. You are very competitive, but not so much we're gonna like ruin the night.
No. I love playing games.
You're
I
chill.
grew up with card games. My family's a big card playing family. Board games, did them all. And this answer was different. Even at like 22, then I would have been like, almost like sore loser vibes. I think at some point, let's call it mid-20s, I was just like, who cares? Who cares if you win at Monopoly? Like, move on, So now when I play games, I don't get super, super competitive. And I wouldn't be that way with you, but she just doesn't like it.
I know.
I've tried to teach her backgammon, spades, like name it. You're just not in. You're not into it.
I know. You would win, though. The answer is she would win.
So now I'm just like on my phone playing, computer number 2.
But I like you are playing bots actually. You're playing the computer.
It's telling me it's real people, but I'm convinced it's not. They always get the good roll in backgammon. I'm like, this is impossible. Double sixes again.
I want to be mindful of the way in which we have created these two sitcom characters in a way that I feel like cannot possibly fully represent Megan as a competitive entity. Because so far you're kind of like, whatever, man. And I just wonder if for Sue, how does that competitiveness actually appear in real life?
Okay, good question.
Or does it? Or am I looking for an aspect here that actually...
You mean outside of sports?
Or
because obviously it exists
however
in
you
soccer.
experienced it, right? Like when you were like, oh, this person can be both, unlike me in some now documented ways, but also like a f***ing killer.
No, you're not that competitive in other ways. I'm really trying to think.
I think on in the game, like I know how to be competitive, but I think there's some parts about being competitive and being like a killer like that are really uncomfortable and like make me kind of like insecure. And so I think I actually like shy away from games or like, I mean, I don't know how to play a lot of the games.
That's a part of it.
That's a little
you
bit of a
remind
part
me
of
of like
it,
trying to teach my mom how to use an iPhone. At some point, she's just out.
Yeah,
Like she just can't.
Even sometimes like in my career, I would just be like, this is like a lot for practice and like
interesting.
it's too much. Like
Even
I
in
just,
practice?
you
Oh,
guys
you never said that.
You guys do it. Not all the time.
And I'm like Lenny Loophole. I'm like, how can I win this drill?
Yeah.
They didn't say you couldn't do that.
Yeah. And I'm like, is that what we're trying to do? Is that the point of the drill? Like I would get annoyed when people would do that. But I would also get annoyed when the coaches like left big holes in the game where I'm like, well, this is what people are going to do. This is the loophole. So, but yeah, I think there's something about like being like uber competitive that is uncomfortable for me that I don't like that much.